transitioning to that a little bit, I thought I'd challenge you a little bit to share a little bit about your faith journey.
Absolutely.
Where your family, how you grew up and what that journey's like. Because a lot of folks, I think, especially right now, when you're going through a pandemic and a global crisis, and we have any economic woes and job changes for so many people, they don't know where to turn. And I always talk about, well, I have one place you can start, and talk a little bit about your journey, what your faith journey is, and what it's been like.
Well, I'm extremely happy you brought that up because that's such a central part of my life here, Brandon. So the my faith is clearly one of the reasons why I wrote the book. When you think of the umpire, you know, I started off with the book saying, should I say God? Should I say Allah? Should I say not a Jah? Should I say another, representation of God? And I chose the umpire because clearly the book is about tennis, and the umpire maintains fairness. And that's what I think, you know, God maintains throughout this world. It's a level of fairness. Even when things may seem like it's not going right, there is that moral arc, as Martin Luther King says, that always bends towards justice. So whether that bend occurs right in the moment or 2 weeks later or 10 years later, there's always that moral arc that bends towards justice. So when I think of my faith, there are three elements that I will share with you very transparently here. I grew up in a Christian home. Jamaica is, you know, what Jamaica to me is renowned for its spirituality. It has the most churches per square area than any other country on this earth. So when you think about the concentration of churches in a specific zone, Jamaica has the highest concentration. So I grew up in that kind of community, strong in Christianity, grew up preaching. I remember I did my first sermon at age 7, roughly, in church. I grew up singing on the choir. But when I went to college at MIT, the very first day, I learned something new about spirituality. I learned something new about myself. On the very first day, it was international orientation. And I met so many diverse students, all of them smarter than I am because they are the geniuses. I just went through and tried to adapt and survive, at MIT. But the first friend that I made was from Saudi Arabia. And my friend, her name was Yasmin. We started talking and I introduced myself to her. And when I told her my name, Tarick, she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Why are you reacting that way?" I had no idea, Brandon. And she said, "Do you know what your name means? And how did you get the name?" And I had no clue. It's a pretty, semi-rare name in Jamaica, but I had no idea of the background. But when she explained to me that in the Muslim religion or Islamic culture, the name Tariq has a very special meaning. And when I heard that, I got a different perspective. And that perspective is there is one God, that's my belief, but there can be different interpretations of that God. So whether we call that God, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Jah, God, Allah, you go back to even more historic periods, it's the old Jewish cultures, they had different names. So that was the first lesson that I learned in my life about my faith. And as I continued to learn and read, I met my wife in college, and my wife is the complete opposite of me. So when I think of yin and yang, she's the perfect yin to my yang because, you know, as you can see, I'm pretty dark, but she is white as snow. And what the impact that she had on me at that time was understanding her background. And her background is Jewish. So when I think of all those three elements there, Brandon, I grew up in a Christian environment, got to learn that the name, or I'm a part of the Islamic or Muslim, belief or culture there. And then at the same time, the Judeo or Jewish background. And when I think of when I was writing the book, should I attach a specific name to each of those? And the answer is no. I'm a part of all of them. I'm a part of this world, and being a part of this world, we're all connected to that one God that maintains that moral arc in society. So I think that's my spiritual journey in a nutshell. We can go deeper, but it's the takeaway there is diversity, but it's still one God. And that's a powerful lesson that I learned very early in my life.
Yeah, I love the fact that you use the term umpire. I can't tell you how many times doing a sermon or something I have used the term about that it's not my job to call balls and strikes. Coincidence? I've always said, listen, I can only give you the best instruction I can give you based on the information that I have, but you can be mad at God all you want because he's the one calling your balls and your strikes. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So